All right. Thanks for tuning in to DarkDox Digest. We are here with Emmy Lee, an SRA survivor. That is Satanic Ritual Abuse, if you've never heard of it. She has some amazing stories and she's an amazing woman. So why don't you? It's been 7 years since she's been on the DarkDox Digest. Back when we were audio only on, what was it? What, True Stream Media? Was
Eternal
it?
Truth Radio.
That's right, Eternal Affairs Media. Yeah, I mean that was, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have met you. So that was a good thing that they were doing there. And I like your message, like how we used to start with a prayer. The Eternal Affairs Media founder, he was like, "Hey, can you start with a prayer at the end, at the beginning of each episode?" And I was at the time kind of uncomfortable with it because I wasn't really Christian. I wasn't really religious at all at the time. I've found Christ since then. But I was like, yeah, I'll tell you what, I got the DarkDox girl, the little robot voice that we use and stuff to say a prayer. And I got the music from, there's a music video from the band Blur called Coffee and TV. And it's following this milk jug, throughout the city. And then he finds his love, and then she gets squashed. She's another milk. She's a strawberry milk jug, and then so he's like, terrified going through this life, trying to make his way home, and then he ends up, being dranken by the person at the house he was trying to. Long story short, and so he ends up, going to heaven with his beloved, and that's the music that plays in the background there. So I thought it was like a kind of fitting background music. So that's a little inside baseball. If you ever heard those old DarkDox digests with Emmy Frost, and you're like, where that sounds familiar? It's from Blur. But yeah, I think a prayer is in order. I would like to thank Jesus for us being together here and healthy and alive after all we've been through. And we're still seeking the truth and trying to expose the darkness. We're trying to shed light on the darkness. That's what we do here at DarkDox. We dox the dark in order to bring truth to light, so we can bring justice to the evil and the innocent here at DarkDox. So thank you so much, Emily, for being with us. I'll let you take over from here.
Okay, well, thank you, Christian, for having me on this show. Yes, it's been a very long time. I was actually listening to some of our old podcasts and sharing it with some of my friends in recent weeks. So it's kind of fitting that we decided to, do this sort of like a last minute show. Now, as you said, like I think the last time we did a show was like in 2019. I was living in Pennsylvania at the time. Isaac Cappy had allegedly jumped off the overpass or whatever underpass in Arizona and committed suicide. That was in May of 2019. I was actually had befriended Isaac on Twitter and Facebook, and initially we got into sort of an argument because he didn't believe my story. And then after I showed him my lawsuit from 1993, where I sued my parents for sexual abuse and sex trafficking, of course, we did not use those terms back in 1993. I was forced into child sexual assault materials, or what people call child pornography, starting at age 5 years old in 1975. I'm originally from Tokyo, Japan. My father, just as a background story, my father was a famous cult movie actor. His name was Robert Dunham, and he starred in Godzilla versus Megalon, Mothra, Dora the Space Monster, The Green Slime. A lot of those Japanese kaiju monster movies that were popular, especially in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up, like in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I moved there when I was 5 years old, and we used to watch my father's, movies on Channel 56, every Saturday after the cartoons, came on and stuff like that. So I started speaking out about my family. In recent years, I've been delving into a lot of my family history and genealogy. I found out that my great grandfather, Henry Ellsworth Dean, was a U.S. representative from Worcester, Massachusetts, and he was a Freemason, as well as an Odd Fellow, which is similar to the Freemasons. It's a secret society, it's a fraternal organization. My grandfather was also a member. And then after doing an ancestry DNA test, I found out I'm actually related to 29 US presidents. George W. Bush is my 10th cousin. Barack Obama is my 17th cousin, twice removed. And after delving into a lot of this, I also found out I'm related to Jacob Rothschild and David Rockefeller. So that just sort of goes to prove that, these Freemasons, the Illuminati, all these kind of people have been, hurting children for many, many years. This is something that started off as, some kind of conspiracy theory with like Pizzagate and Hillary Clinton and Comet Ping Pong and, WikiLeaks, Julia Assange and stuff like that. So I've read all the WikiLeaks back in the day. And, I was trying to educate people, or what they call red pill people, about Pizzagate, because Pizzagate, we're not talking about Hillary Clinton, in Comet Ping Pong in the basement with James Alefantis, sex trafficking kids in a pizza parlor. We're talking about like Jeffrey Epstein. We're talking about sexual abuse of children by elite pedophiles, people that are in the government, people that are military or ex-military, people of power, police officers, Catholic priests, everything. We talk about like the Boy Scouts of America and the Catholic Church are the most sued organizations in the entire world, as far as abusing children sexually and things like that. And I've been trying to talk about this since I was a teenager living on Cape Cod. And I just recall telling my father when I was 17 years old that all Catholic priests are pedophiles, and his answer to me was, "That's like saying all men in the Navy are gay." And my father, we suspect that he was in the CIA. He owned an import-export business. I also found some documents and things that, we talked about that before, Christian. Those old newspaper articles in regards to red spy rings in Tokyo, uncovering things with the Russians during the Cold War. And he was part of what they call the AMPO protests in Japan, which was in Fukuoka, which ousted the Prime Minister Nobushiki Kishi, who was I believe, the great grandfather or the grandfather of the former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who was actually murdered about 4 or 5 years ago in Japan. And my father was involved in what they call like a false flag event. And then he warned President Eisenhower in, I think it was April or May of 1960, to not come to Japan because of the signing of the Security Pact Treaty, Pact like PACT. So President Eisenhower actually thanked my father for warning him not to come to Japan because they thought he was going to be assassinated. And this is all in the history books. It just doesn't have my father's name in it. But we went ahead and I showed you those newspaper clippings from the Japanese newspapers called the Asahi Daily News. It's now called the Asahi Shinbun, which is an American, well, it's a Japanese newspaper, but it's written in English. And so, this is this kind of stuff that I've been delving into: family history, the history of, pedophiles, Freemasons, Illuminati, Hollywood especially. That's been coming out ever since Harvey Weinstein, and then links to, Jeffrey Epstein, P. Diddy, R. Kelly, all these people that have been, using their power and position in Hollywood, the music industry, movie actors, producers. Look at Corey Feldman. I just got a message from Corey Feldman recently on X, and I've been communicating with him off and on. Actor Corey Feldman, who was in the movie Stand By Me, The Lost Boys, Dream a Little Dream with Corey Haim, and The Goonies. So, The Goonies, that's a very popular movie. I think he played Mouth in The Goonies. So Corey Feldman came out with a documentary not too long ago about the two Coreys, Corey Haim, his best friend, who was allegedly sexually abused by a movie actor on the set of Lucas, which was a movie he made in the 80s. He alleged it was Charlie Sheen, and stuff like that. So all this stuff has been coming out, in recent years, trials with P. Diddy, R. Kelly, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, all these kind of people. And we never thought that this was going to happen. I mean, this is something that you and I and other people, truthers, have talked about for many, many years. We've been trying to educate people and bring, this information to light and to the public. And when I was younger, nobody believed me. Everybody said I was crazy. my whole family, they used me as a scapegoat when I started coming out and talking about this. I actually sued my family in 1993 in Barnstable County Court on Cape Cod, and I basically lost all my family because of it. I was seen as crazy. I was seen as a problem, a drama queen, somebody that liked to make up stories and was living like fantasies and in my head and stuff like that. And my dad even actually said that I was copying Roseanne Barr because she came out with her incest story around 92, 93, and he said it was psychobabble, copycat psychobabble or something like that. So this is just something that's been close to my heart because, of course, I have 4 children and 3 grandchildren, and I don't want my kids to ever have to go through this. I mean, my kids are grown now, but, I just hear so many stories of children every single day. It's in the news, children being trafficked, children being kidnapped. And, I just wanted to mention that I just befriended this woman, Stephanie K, just the other day, and her daughter, Kylie Arlano of Garden City, Utah, was kidnapped a year and a day ago, which is May 29th of 2025 at the age of 15, and somebody lured her off of the internet from Discord and Roblox. And I've warned so many parents about, having their kids use these, online games and things like that because there's adults on there pretending to be kids, there's pedophiles on there talking to your kid and trying to get them away from their parents or brainwash the kids. And this girl, 15 years old, she left her house in the middle of the night while her mom was at work, and her mom didn't even know she left the house, and she disappeared, never to be seen again. She dropped her sweater in the driveway, and allegedly she got like some kind of gifts or PayPal payments from somebody. There was somebody she was speaking to in Idaho and Utah, and never to be seen again. And we've been, talking back and forth. I've been trying to get a little bit of more information about how we can help, try to find her daughter. And I'm trying to get her in touch with a friend of mine who's an investigator out of Spartan Investigations in Virginia. Patrick Paulus is the CEO, and Sam Hall is one of the investigators. So, it's just very hard when, you try to do your best with your kids and, just sometimes you can't watch your kids every minute. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
if you're a parent and you're out there, like I see parents every single day at the mall or the store, and they just let their kids run around. And remember what happened to Adam, that boy, John Walsh's son in Florida back in 1980, whatever. He was in a store, his mom left him for a couple of minutes, and boom, gone. You know what I mean? And then they, found his head, in the river, and never found the rest of his body. And they weren't sure if the guy that died in prison was the actual murderer, and things like that. But there's just too many cases of children being missing and never being found or being found murdered every single day, multiple times a day, all over the U.S., all over the world. You know what I mean? And it's just like, why? Why is this happening so often? Um, with the child sex trafficking, which includes forcing children into child sexual assault materials, which is child pornography, whether it's videos or pictures or print. When I was younger, it was mostly being photographed as a child and stuff like that. My father had access to films. He had a projector. He had the ability to make 16 millimeter reel to reel films of children. He owned an import export business. It was easy for him to, contact other people that might want to buy, photographs of children in sexual situations with adults. And this is something that people just thought was like a myth. You know what I mean? And this has been going on. I mean, this happened to me in 1975, 76, 77. This it's not a myth. This has been going on. I mean, you hear about it sometimes on shows like Law and Order SVU, and you might that's really horrible, and you might not
Hey,
even think
sorry
it's
to interrupt. You're on fire here, but I lost a little bit of your reception there for a
okay.
second.
All right. Okay.
Also, I'm not sure if you could turn the volume up on your end. We had a comment that they had a hard time hearing you. I tried turning it up on my end as much as possible. I'm not sure if it's any better. Let us know in the comments.
It's like the loudest it can be.
Okay. Yeah, I hear
I'm
a little bit of clipping. Maybe we'll just rock it the way it is, I guess.
yeah,
Um,
I'm just not like tech savvy.
yeah, you know, we're trying these new systems here. I'm on my phone too. I'm at a new location, so I'm in the middle of setting up my internet and all of that. So, you know, if you guys like these kinds of broadcasts and you want us to do more, definitely you can support us. So we have a new domain name at WARSTORE.info. I just picked up today. WARSTORE.info. Of course, you see it spinning over there. It's like the old InfoWars store, but it will actually redirect you to thealexjonesstore.com/darkdox. They have all kinds of amazing supplements and T-shirts and stickers and knives and you name it. Faraday bags, which is going to be really big coming up with all the EMPs and the 5G and the so definitely support InfoWars, even though it's not called InfoWars anymore. I picked up WARSTORE.info for them, so you can feel a little nostalgic and not type so many letters by going to thealexjonesstore.com/darkdox. But that's my little plug here. And then, we would love to have Emmy Frost on. I want you on as a regular. I want to give you credentials to DarkDox. You write so much amazing stuff on Facebook, and I almost feel like, man, it's kind of lost on Facebook because
I
if you're
know.
not on Facebook, you can't read these amazing novels that you're writing all the time. And you're posting photos and stuff. So when the episode is over, I'm going to give you login credentials for darkdox.com. You're going to have your own account. And so you can post stuff to DarkDox, and then you can share the link to your article on Facebook, on all the social medias. It'll help us get more traffic to DarkDox, and it'll also help spread the word to a new outlet of people that are just going to DarkDox, never heard of Emmy Lee. So the way I see it, it's a win-win. We want to have you on board. You have a lot of wisdom to share, and your perspective is priceless in all of this. So we're very grateful to have you. So that was the backgrounder. That's all the stuff you've been through. What are you working on right now? I understand you're trying to help find some missing people. Do you have any domain names you would like to share with our audience? In order to get information or give information about these cases?
Well, this is something that I just started working on a couple of days ago. I was supposed to have a conversation with Stephanie K. Coleman, I think her name is, who is the mom of Kylie Olivia can't even say it, Arellano, that is missing from Garden City, Utah. But I haven't had a chance to speak with her yet because she's in the middle of a move right now. So it's just something that just sort of came up all of a sudden. As far as other things that I've been working on, a year ago I did a podcast on Only God Rescued Me, which is a YouTube channel that's run by my friend Lisa Meister, and the Cape and Islands District Attorney's Office, which is on Cape Cod. They watched my podcast, and I received information from this detective, and she said she wanted to speak to me about what I was talking about in my podcast because I was talking about cults and churches and different places on Cape Cod that I know have sexually abused children because I was involved in that. My parents were involved with these churches and cults on Cape Cod. And I even outed some other cults that I was not involved with that I knew about, and one of them was the Community of Jesus at Rock Harbor in Orleans. And I went to school with this guy named Sean Delude. And if you don't recall, just a couple of years ago, there was a guy that lit himself on fire outside the embassy. His name was Aaron Bushnell, and
Yes.
he said "Free Palestine." He was in that.
Right.
He was in the Community of Jesus on Cape Cod. Um,
Mm.
so, it just, right now there's a lawsuit going on. They have their own podcast on Spotify, I believe. They have a Facebook group called like Rock the Hard Truth and things like that. So, this has been coming out like in recent months. Even some of my friends from high school are out, picketing in front of the compound at Rock Harbor, which is, basically a harbor where people keep boats. But the two women that ran the Community of Jesus actually branched off from my church back in the 50s, and my church was called the Church of the Holy Spirit in South Orleans. And we've talked about, in the past, how they were connected to a Christian camp, Camp Good News in Sandwich, Massachusetts, which lost its accreditation after U.S. Representative Scott Brown wrote a book and was on 60 Minutes talking about he was sexually abused at this Christian camp on Cape Cod. And my mother wanted me to go to this camp, and the person that ran the camp was on the board of trustees, but her parents were actually the ones that started the camp in the first place. And I'm basically saying that she was performing illegal abortions. She was a pediatrician that went to my church, and I don't want to say her name right this minute because, I'm sure there's people that know her or her kids are listening or whatever, but she was performing illegal abortions on daughters of the members of the church that I went to, and to cover up the sexual abuse. And she was on the board of trustees for Camp Good News, which is the same camp that Scott Brown, the U.S. representative, was sexually abused at. And then coincidentally, the pedophile that sexually abused him killed himself immediately after he was exposed. So, it's just a lot of this stuff that I've been talking about for so many years. I've lost friends over this. I've lost family over this, especially because my parents, of course, didn't want me to out them. I've been outing people for a number of years, whether they're police officers, whether they're teachers, or whether they're business owners or people on Cape Cod that sexually abused me along with other people, because it was literally a child sex pedophile ring that going on. And I was the victim of a lot of this stuff, growing up. And it's just, a lot of these people have died because this happened so long ago. But some of these people used to pay me money. They used to pay me $1 or $2 to sexually abuse me at these parties. And I've talked about this off and on, and it's really hard to talk about sometimes because I have complex trauma post-traumatic stress disorder. I have been in therapy for 40 years, since 1984, because that's when my parents got a divorce. And the Judge Herman, who was my parents' divorce attorney on Cape Cod back then, he noticed there was something not right with me. I was acting out. I was, running away from home and things like that. And he put me and my sister in court-ordered therapy until we graduated high school. But my sister never ended up going to therapy because my parents sent her away to a private school, and they separated me and my sister. So, I didn't even really grow up with her after like eighth or ninth grade. So, it's just I've just it's really near and dear to my heart for me to bring up this stuff because I've talked to some survivors of some of these churches back on Cape Cod, and they don't want people to know. Like, they still don't want. They're so ashamed, and they have drug addiction problems, alcoholism, other type of addictions, whether it be like self-harming behaviors. A lot of this is all trauma, and they're just so ashamed that they don't even want to talk about it. They don't want to tell anybody. They've never even told their parents, some of these people told me. So they've been telling me because they've heard my story, but they can't even tell their own families for fear of what their family's going to think of them. Or some of their family members didn't even know that they were abused because they allowed these churches to take their kids on camping trips or take their kids for sleepovers or different activities away from the parents, so that the parents weren't even around when this stuff was happening. And that's why I never let my kids go anywhere. I never let them join Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or any of these organizations. I kept
Yeah,
a
I can vouch for that
trail.
myself. I mean, I was a Cub Scout, I was a Weeblo, and I remember the first time we went on like one of those camping trips where it's just the boys and we're in a tent by ourselves and stuff. And pretty much, I'd say about half of the boys were hooking up with each other. And I mean, this was down in Miami Springs, and I was mortified because I was like, what's going on here? And I had no proclivity for such things, but it was definitely alarming how many of them were like, the parents aren't around, we can fool around. And I wonder like how many of them were groomed to be like that by their camp counselors. I mean, we had female counselors in like my den or whatever, so nothing happened with them. They were very. That was actually the mother of one of the
Kids.
the fellow kids. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it's and that was back then. That was back in like the late '80s, and but I imagine it's much weirder now. And but it's always been weird. Yeah, it's like you got to watch your kids, is what it comes down to. You got to watch your children, and
Like
it's
if you feel
difficult.
like you have to trust your gut. Like if you feel like something isn't right, then listen to your gut. Because one time my daughter, she got mad because a friend of hers wanted her to sleep over for like a sleepover slumber party type thing. But the mom had like 6 or 7 kids, and most of the siblings she had were older brothers that were going to be there. And I was like, no, you're not going. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know these kids. I don't know what kind of
Right.
she is. Like, I mean, she could be a good parent, but you never know. He could
Right.
be Uncle Joe could be over, or cousin, so and so, or grandpa could
Yeah.
be there. You don't know. You don't know who
Right.
you're.
And I mean, and as a parent, same thing. Like, of course they're going to want to have sleepovers and things like that. What
Right.
I've tried to do myself is make the time and be like, oh, well, not this time, but like maybe we could invite them, to this like mutual thing in the
Mhm.
future so I can get to know the parents and we can talk about parenting styles and our beliefs and, well, and that way you can, because you can learn a lot like in an hour or two, just a little outing with some other parent. First of all, it's healthy, it's good. You should be knowing the parents of everybody. Everyone should be exchanging phone numbers. There needs to be a network. It does take a village to raise these children properly, and everyone looking out for each other. And if one of the kids is missing, then you have the numbers for everyone else. Hey, are they with you guys? Oh, no, are they with you guys? But it's that extra mile because you don't want them to just miss out and not have any social skills and think that like you're just a shut in and don't want to socialize with anybody else. But at the same time, it's a very delicate balancing act, and it's unfortunately, in order to be good and be vigilant in this evil world, you just have to have eyes in the back of your head and just always be
I
paying
used to always
attention.
say that to my kids. I
Yeah,
used to always say I got eyes in the back of my head. Like, I know what you're doing. Like, before you're even doing it, I already know. You know what I mean?
right.
Because, like, I let one of my kids go to a friend's house in the neighborhood when he was like 12, 13 years old. I thought, oh, it'll be okay. And then my son came home and was like, Mom, when I was over so and so's house, like, he wanted to watch these like dirty kind of movies. And I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Because nowadays with TV,
Yeah, everything's dirty.
like they have everything. So, that's another thing. It's like there's more to worry about with cell phones, computers, and everything that kids can get into. And believe it or not, there's kids grooming other kids. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
of course.
Or even
Yeah.
siblings, older
Like I
siblings.
said, that's what I was
You never
exposed to
know.
as a child with the Boy Scouts and stuff like that. It's like
Right.
it wasn't really adults that was, I didn't see any of that. I mean, I'm sure it was going on, but like I didn't catch it. But I saw more often than not, like, just young people, like it seems like when they don't have supervision, they were like, let's do everything bad we can possibly think of. And that's why younger children do need supervision.
Right. I
And I mean, as they get older, they can kind of earn privacy through good behavior. And
hmm
if your parents don't catch you doing a
It's
bunch
sort
of
of
stuff that you need to be
it's sort of
supervised all the
crazy.
time, then yeah. But yeah, so
You're
it's
frozen
probably
right now.
harder to parent now, more now than ever with the technology. You got the tablets, you got social media. They have dating sites for children, and
What?
like yeah, yeah, we covered that like 2 months ago. I think it was Shoe on Head on YouTube. Shout out to her. She did a whole expose on these dating sites for children, and then like there was a big backlash, and then like they kind of took it down and rebranded, but like it was still a dating site for kids. And I'll send you the link. I got to dig that up. But yeah, I mean, these people are like, they're in the Roblox servers, they're in the Fortnite servers. They're all trying to screw your kids. And
Right.
if you don't believe that, then you're just not paying attention. You have your head in the sand like an ostrich, and there's nothing that can be done for you. But I can assure you that this is happening. Children are going missing at an alarming rate every day. They're being found dead, if found at all. They're being sold into child sex trafficking. What would your, I'd say, what would like your biggest advice be from your experience to young like women, young men, in order to maybe avoid some of the things that you found yourself in? If you could go back, would you do anything differently? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm in my late 50s, so it was a different time then. I mean, I used to like take off and not even tell my mom where I was going. I used to hitchhike all the time and get picked up by weirdos. I sort of like learned how to be like street smart. I used to carry a knife with me all the time, and things like that. I have been kidnapped on a number of occasions. An adult one time when I was 4 years old, but as an adult, I've been kidnapped. And it's just like you got to always be aware of your surroundings. I mean, so many girls nowadays, especially the girls, 11, 12 years old, wearing makeup and long nails and fake eyelashes, dressing provocatively, going to the mall with their friends with no parents. And, there's grown men looking at them. You know what I mean? And it's so easy to just snatch one of these kids, and it's not
Yeah.
like, oh, they're just grabbing them and like something out of a movie. It's like talking to them, grooming them, like, hey, you know what I mean. And I've had grown men come up to me when I was a teenager at the mall and try to get me to go somewhere with them, or hey, like I have these records, you want to go to my house and well, maybe watch a movie or something. And I'm like, I'm 14. No. And I had the notion to like, you know that these guys were like this, but it's a little difficult when your own family was grooming me at the age of 5. My own half brother, I had a much older half brother, who was in high school when I was in kindergarten, and he groomed me with hardcore pornography and even child pornography that was laying around. Because we just moved from Tokyo, Japan, and my parents rented a house from this guy who wrote smut novels in the 1950s. And Cape Cod has a lot of weird people there. We got a lot of artists, we got a lot of writers like Kurt Vonnegut lived there, Norman Mailer lived there, and then this guy R.V. Castle. We rented a little cottage from him, and he's the one that had these smut novels, or he wrote smut novels, back in the 50s. And he was also a professor at Brown University. So somehow he was friends with my dad, and it's like when you're a young kid and your own family's doing this to you, like you don't even realize, like, wait a minute, what are they doing? It's like, oh, you think it's like not normal, but like, I mean, I didn't think it was normal, but I didn't know what it was about. You know what I mean? I didn't know what sex
Yeah.
was. I didn't know what pornography was. I didn't know anything. I was totally innocent. And
Well, that right there is exactly why this like pedophile agenda, they try to push it on your children as soon as possible. They're in the preschools, they're at the libraries. They want to get to your children before they even know what
what
sexuality is. They want them on puberty blockers before they even get any feelings towards the opposite sex the natural way. They want to stop that and confuse them, and it's despicable.
I mean, today is the start of Pride Month, and I just read an article
Yes.
about the Boston Public Library and how everybody's up in arms because they decided to do a drag queen story hour for kids on June 1st, the start of the Pride Month. And it's like people complaining, like, why do they need a month? Why do they have to advertise this? Like, why do we care what they do? Like, why is it all in our face all the time? And now
Hmm.
kids are being taught in school, like, oh, you got to be, accepting of everybody. And even if they're, wearing dresses or makeup or changing their sex or whatever. And when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s, we didn't even have transgender people. And people want to sit there and argue with me oh yeah, there was transgender people, there's Native Americans, this, that, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, I live next to Provincetown, which is P-Town, the gay town. It's like the main gay hub of the entire United States,
Yeah.
besides Key West, Florida, and San Francisco.
They
And
want
I
to rewrite
stuff.
history. You know, like these people live in so much cognitive dissonance that they have a whole month dedicated to homosexuality called Pride, which is a
Right.
sin. But
Mhm.
yet you're not allowed to have white pride. You're not allowed to have pride
You just
in
froze for
your
a second.
ethnicity. How about pride in the United States? Oh no, that you're a racist. You know, but you can have Hispanic pride, you can have black pride, you can have gay pride, you can have pride for anything else, but don't let it be
Anything but white
Christianity.
pride.
Don't let it be the United States. Don't let it be white. You know, so that tells you when you can do it for everybody else except for Christians,
White
whites,
men.
and people from the United States, that tells you everything about who they think the enemy is. The white people that are straight in the United States.
For
You
the
can't
white
have straight
supremacists.
pride, right? You can't be proud that you're a heterosexual. And there's nothing to be proud of. There's
Right.
nothing to be proud of about who you're attracted to. That doesn't make any sense. Like you should be proud of your children because it's something hard that you did in order
Mhm.
to raise them, bring them into this world, and work hard to put a roof over their head. You can have a little bit of self pride, not too much, but you can be proud of your accomplishment. You can be proud of their accomplishments. You are proud of accomplishments, not because of what you like to put in your mouth or what you like to put in other parts of your body, or that. Don't be proud of that. Like
I mean,
that, keep that
we
to
need
the
to
bedroom.
celebrate? Why do we need to celebrate? Exactly like what you're talking about. I mean, do I go around and do I have to? I mean, what do I celebrate? I celebrate, my grandkids' birthdays or accomplishments that my children have made. Like my son has a music festival every year that he's worked on himself, or my other
Oh,
son has
that's awesome. What is it called?
it's called Mass N the Grass. It's MASS and then N like the letter N THA grass like GRASS. So he's doing
Mass in the grass.
yeah, Mass in the Grass. It's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and he features about 50 bands every year. They got food trucks, they got art festival people. Every year there's a theme. Like last year, I think it was cosplay. One year it was video games. So they have a camp out at Sinking Springs camp fairgrounds in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and they've got a number of bands. Like he features all different kinds of music, like metal music or rap or rock or all kinds of stuff. And it's a 3-day event. People camp out there, and this is, I think, his 7th year that he's been doing this. And this is something he created on his own after his father, my son's father, had passed away, and he inherited his guitar, and he taught himself how to play his dad's guitar, and then it kind of took off after college. So I'm really proud of my son. He's a professional musician. He's also a behavioral technician for autistic kids in kindergarten. So he just
Wow.
school year. Yeah, he just ended
See,
the
that's
school
something to be
year.
proud of, and that's fantastic. Show him sacred owls, and be like, hey, these guys should play your next one because we would be happy to come up with Pennsylvania. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
We're working on getting some live shows together ourselves here in Florida, but that's fantastic. That is something to be proud of.
yep, yep. And then one of my second son, he works for a computer company as a systems engineer. My third son is a high school Spanish teacher, and he's autistic. He's got Asperger's. And then my daughter just finished college recently, and I heard she wants to be an art therapist. So all my kids are musically and artistically, inclined. They're very good-hearted people, very kind people. I'm very proud of my kids. And then I got grandkids. Like my grandson just won like some national geography bee, and it's like his second or third year. He just turned 12. Today's his birthday, so happy birthday, Lachlan from Grammy. So I'm proud of my grandkids. I got another grandson. He's super smart, really into like animals and birds and everything. And then I got a 3-year-old granddaughter. So I'm just very proud of my kids and my family. And I try to bring them up right. I mean, I was not the best mother. I tried my best, but I didn't learn how to be a good parent. You know what I mean? I kind of had to learn, as I went along, and I was a teenage mom. And
Yeah.
my second son was a product of a rape by a stranger when I was 23 years old in college. That was one of the things I said when I was kidnapped. I was drugged and raped at a party, and became pregnant. So, that's my second son. And the cops never arrested the guy, and I later sued him for child support, and I won a large settlement. So, it's like I've always tried to right the wrong, but I've never actually received justice for anything that's happened to me. So, it's just it's kind of sad, but that's why I try to help other people, and just as much as I can. I mean, I'm not like a police officer. I'm a former correctional officer. I used to do some undercover and investigative work in the past, and because of my background and because of what I went through myself, what I try to do is I try to educate people, and I try to, tell my story. Like a few years ago, I was on Tell Somebody on Facebook. I shared my story of sexual abuse by my family and my brother, and I literally had like hundreds and hundreds of people just showing me that they care, like compassionate, kind people. And I'm not used to that. You know what I mean? I'm not used to people being kind to me, or showing any kind of compassion, because I just felt like a fighter my whole life. Like I felt like I had to like fight, fight, fight all the time because I didn't have anybody in my corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have an actor friend, Corin Nemec, and Corin and I've been friends for 28 years. And when I was going through domestic violence and I didn't have anybody to talk to, I went on the computer. I just got a brand new computer in 1997, and I started writing to him on his website, and he responded. And I didn't think it was him. Well, just recently he sent me a video that I asked him to make, and he gave me like a pep talk. He knows what I've been through. He knows about the sex trafficking because Corin Nemec made a movie when he was younger in 1989 called I Know My First Name is Steven, which is a TV special about Steven Stainer, who was a 7-year-old boy that was kidnapped in Modesto, California, and his brother Cary Stainer was the Yellowstone Killer, which happened
Mm.
after they found Steven Stainer when he was 14 years old. He helped another boy escape from this pedophile. The little boy's name was Timmy White. But now Timmy White died. He became a sheriff, but he died of a heart attack, I believe. And Steven Stainer was killed, unfortunately, in a motorcycle accident when he was 24. But Corin Nemec, the actor who was on Parker Lewis Can't Lose back in the day, and Supernatural, Stargate SG-1, and The Ghost Whisperer, he
Oh,
played the teenage Steven Stainer in that movie, and I actually got to meet up with him, and he autographed the movie for me recently. So, and then he made me a video where he gave me a pep talk on everything that I've been through in my life and how proud he is of me and how I've spoken up against all these evil people, and he just said he was in my corner, and that he supported me. So that meant a lot, you know what I mean? Because he's one of my
yeah.
favorite actors. So, and then I got Corey Feldman. I got other actors, like listening to my stories and messaging me. I got a direct message from Corey Feldman, just, asking me to tell him my story. And he said if I ever want to talk, just message him. And he's been really, really nice. For the last 5 or 6 years, I've been talking to Corey. He's a nice guy.
Nice.
So, yeah. So, I just try my best to, it's not like I'm doing this for any kind of clout. I don't get paid to do any of this stuff. It's just, you know, I just really want to tell my story so other people can, if they've been through it and maybe they didn't tell anybody, or maybe it's a secret they've kept for all these years, you don't have to be ashamed. You don't have to, I understand it's hard sometimes to come out and talk about things, but I always felt that it helped me talk about it. You know what I mean? Whether it be in therapy or it's hard to talk with family or it's hard to talk with friends unless they've been through it. They don't understand. Some people just have told me like, get over it. Get over it. Like, why are you living in the past? It's like, well, do you
What
realize
kind
what
of
I
monster would
do?
say such a thing? I mean,
Oh my
clearly
God,
somebody
all
that
the time.
either has never experienced any hardship in their life or somebody that's evil and has done this kind of stuff and they don't want people talking about it. So,
I
if
mean,
you
I
don't talk about it, it doesn't exist, right? Like these people
right.
are anybody that's trying to silence people like Emmy, you're the problem, you're the evil, you're have you considered like putting together a book, like a memoir.
Well, I
I mean,
started
you
writing a book last year, and I think I found somebody that might want to publish my book, but it's just so difficult because my life is such a there's multiple stories. You got the childhood sexual abuse, my father being a movie actor, my mom being a famous model, and then you got my teenage years where I was like running away, hanging out with gangs, getting into trouble, getting arrested. Putting
Mhm.
myself in college, and then getting married to an abusive police officer, and then he later became a federal police officer.
That whole chapter. I mean, you have so
That's
many
the whole
chapters to
book.
your life, and so much of it you've written so well. Have you talked to? I think Greg Fernandez Jr. would be a good person to reach out to
Oh
because
yeah,
he's
friends.
writing books. I've done some artwork for him. I think
Uh-huh.
he would be good at copy editing for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I've been friends with Greg for all these years because we did a show. All of us did a show together. I
Yeah,
just realized that he could be like somebody I could reach out to, but
yeah. I
it's
mean,
just hard because with the
he did a book on nine
PTSD,
eleven. I
sometimes
just did
sometimes I
some
just wake
art
up
for
and
him.
like I have a flashback, or I have, a bad memory that just pops up out of the clear blue sky, or somebody triggers me. You know what I mean? And it's difficult because, anything can be a trigger. It could be a smell, it could be a sound, it could be a song, it could be a movie, it could be somebody, just saying something a certain way, or
Sure.
acting, in a hot, like a lot of times where like somebody acts like hostile or aggressive towards me, then I snap. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm like, no, like you're not talking to me like that. And then I get, I don't like to get like that, but it's me sort of defending myself because I've been through 30 years of domestic violence. 30 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm the kind of person that, I never really cowered down to my ex-husband or ex-boyfriends. Like I fought them. You know what I mean? Except for my second husband, I couldn't fight him and he nearly killed me, but that's a whole nother story and that's why I left him. But it's like people don't understand. They say, "Well, you chose him." This is what I get from mostly guys. Like you chose him, so it's your fault that you were in a domestic violence situation, or oh, you should have left. Well, some men make it impossible, like my ex-husband with the NSA. I mean, he had
Hmm.
cameras in the house. He had me arrested 17 times in 3 different states. I mean, what am I supposed to
Wow.
what am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like, and I want to just say right now that my friend Tracy Hermes from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, committed suicide in December 5th of 2025, which is just this past right before Christmas. I went to school with her since 5th grade, and she committed suicide because she was in an exact same situation as I was in with my ex-husband. Her husband or her ex-husband worked as a network administrator, something to do with the police department. He had her kid taken away from her. He deemed her crazy, had everybody thinking she was nuts, and she tried so hard to, get her story out there, and people weren't really listening, or they just thought she was crazy, like, oh, get over it, Tracy. And she just couldn't deal with it, and she committed suicide, left behind an 11-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old son. You know what I mean? And now, since she's deceased, now they're talking about her. Like why didn't they talk about her when she was alive, when they could have helped her? I try to help her because I found out about it because a friend of mine was doing a GoFundMe so she could get a lawyer to fight her ex-husband about, the kids and custody and this and that. But like I already went through all that stuff. I went through that stuff for 20 years. Lost money, lost everything, lost my house. I gave up. I was forced to give up custody of my kids to my ex-husband because he had me locked up so many times that I couldn't even afford to go to court anymore. I paid so much bail. My divorce was $65,000. My multiple custody battles cost me $21,000. I was out of money. You know what I mean? And when you don't have money to fight the system, you're screwed.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like if you have the money to fight in court, then But he basically took me to court so many times until I ran out of money.
Hmm. That's what they do. Yeah.
Do. There was nothing I could do. And, he kidnapped my kids. He literally kidnapped my kids in June of 2014. I won custody. He got pissed off because I posted a picture on Facebook of me and my kids hugging and kissing, and all of a sudden my kids are gone. My son never came home from school. He is 14. He has Asperger's, disappeared. And come to find out, his father intercepted him between the school bus and, getting onto the school bus to go home. And of course, his dad's like, "Hey, I'm here to pick you up," and he went with his dad to Maryland from Pennsylvania. I had custody, and then all of a sudden the cops are banging on my door. There was a sheriff, Justin something or other of the York County Sheriff's Office, banging on my door like, "Oh, you got to give your daughter to us because your ex-husband's in the driveway with a federal restraining order from the NSA." I said there is no such thing as a federal restraining order. They're like, "Well, if you don't open the door, we're going to arrest you." And I open the door. My daughter's clinging to me. She's 12 years old, screaming and crying, like, "I don't want to go with dad. I don't want to go with dad." They literally peeled my daughter off of me and gave her to my ex-husband who was in the driveway. And then soon after that, the cops are at my door with a fugitive warrant saying, "You're under arrest. And now you got to go to jail in Pennsylvania and get extradited because you're a fugitive from justice." And they were laughing about it too. They were laughing about it like, "Yeah, we know you live in Pennsylvania, but here's your ex-husband, and he took out another warrant against you again." So I had to be in York County jail for 2 months, be extradited to Maryland to Howard County Detention Center, and then after all that, I went to court and all the charges were dismissed. I was facing 18 years in prison. 18 years in prison because he
What
had
were
me
the charges?
he had me charged with 5 counts of criminal harassment, 1 count of misuse of telephone, and 1 count of misuse of a telecommunications device because he set me up.
That's the
He
NSA BS, yeah.
set me up. He agitated my son who has Asperger's. And you know how kids with Asperger's, you know what I mean? They get agitated about certain things. And
What?
my ex-husband was supposed to take my kids on a vacation. He had the kids for, some type of a visit or whatever, and my son got upset because he didn't take them anywhere. They were supposed to go like to some Six Flags or something. I don't know the whole story, but my son called me and said he was very upset with his dad that he didn't get to go or something like that. And then he said, "Oh, by the way, dad brought a woman home and he just met her at the mall and she slept over." And I knew that my kids were sleeping in the same room because my ex-husband was renting a studio, like a studio apartment or something. So they were all sleeping in sleeping bags on the floor. And my ex-husband had the bed and he brought a woman home and slept with her and he didn't even know her. He just met her. So my son was upset, telling me, "Oh, well, he did this in front of me and, you know,
I think we lost connection with Emmy
why
Frost here.
was
Oh, there we
why
go.
why are you exposing my kids to whatever, if you want to date some woman and sleep with some woman, why don't you do it on your own time when you don't have the kids there?" And then because of that, he had me charged with all these counts of harassment. He said I'm harassing him because my son was upset that he had a woman over, sleeping over, in his bed in front of the kids in the same room. And this is how I was facing 18 years in prison, like, go figure, and had to be extradited like I was some type of murderer, shackled, in a 6 pointer with my handcuffs to my waist, and then from the waist I had the chain to my and I was on 23-hour lockdown. 23-hour lockdown. And initially they threw me in immigration jail. They threw me in immigration jail. Yep. They
Even
said I
though
was
I mean, are you a citizen or you're
I was born a U.S. citizen overseas because my dad was a United States Marine Corps first lieutenant,
right?
military police, and the judge said, "Well, you're from Tokyo. It says you're from Tokyo. You were born in Tokyo." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, you're a flight risk." I said, "I don't even have a passport." He goes, "Oh, are you arguing with me?" I said, "Yes, because I'm not a flight risk." He said, "Okay, I'm doubling your bail to $10,000." And then when I got to the prison from the central booking at the courthouse, I was locked in immigration jail with a bunch of Mexicans, 2 Chinese ladies, and 2 girls from Honduras. And this was in 2014. And guess who let me out? ICE. ICE let me out. They came to my jail cell speaking to me in Spanish, and I said, "I speak English." And they go, "Oh, you speak English?" "Yeah, because I'm American." They're like, "Well, what are you doing in this jail?" I said, "You tell me." And then they're like, "Hold on a second," and they came out and they let me out, and then they put me in the other regular jail. So yeah, as I said, I was locked up 17 times in 3 different states, but that's a whole nother book right there.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. But it's an amazing story, and I just love hearing new chapters of. I mean, it's awful thing. I don't enjoy it, but it's fascinating, and it's amazing how through all of it, you're still a charming, positive person, and I think you're an inspiration to everybody. Where can people follow you on social media? You're on X and Facebook.
I'm on. Well, see, I have to use another name, just because I'm targeted. I'm a targeted individual. I've been gang stalked. I've been stabbed. I've been beaten. I've had a whole bunch of bad things happen to me. So, I go by Angel Rose Hernandez. It's just a made up name. Angel Rose Hernandez on Facebook, X, and Instagram. So
Okay.
that's the name I'm using now. Just cause. But
Angel Rose Hernandez.
yeah.
Where did you get that from? Is it
Made it up.
just
I
made it
don't
up,
know.
huh?
Yeah, I just made it up. Hmm.
But you see, this is what people like us have to deal with. I mean, of course, Coffins isn't my real last name, but if people did know my real last
Right.
name,
Christian Coffins.
they would be looking me up and trying to find, where I live and trying to kill me like this, Nick Fuentes and all these fellas that are out there, saying stuff and, people trying to kill him for it. You got what was that? Chud the Builder just got shot for going around and saying the N word.
$1 million bond. Yeah,
Yeah, he's gonna get railroaded, and I mean it's
my friend Jake Lang got arrested at his court hearing because he spoke out in court and he got 10 days contempt in Clarksville, Tennessee. So he just got out yesterday, but
yeah,
yeah, it's just crazy. But yeah, Chud, because they were talking about how I think it was, what is his name? Carmelo Anthony, the guy that killed that boy, the black kid that killed that white kid, stabbed him at the, track meet or whatever. His
right.
bail, nothing compared to Chud the Builder $1.5 million bond.
Yeah,
Why?
didn't
Okay.
even shoot it. Yeah, I think he like grazed the guy. He ended up grazing himself in the process.
Right. Yeah, he ended up getting shot too. Yeah.
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 Ah. How do you feel about firearms? I like them. I want more women to carry them. Do you have a firearm? Do you
Well,
shoot?
I've shot every kind of firearm. Let's see. I used to carry an HKP 7M8, a 6-hour 380. I want to get a Glock 17, but I've shot an HK USP, a Walther PPS, a 6-hour 380, a CCAM 32, a Colt 1911, an AR-15, a MAC-10, a Tech 9. I've shot guns with with suppressors. Let's see, a Nighthawk Talon, a Desert Eagle, every kind of like Glock, every kind of revolver, Derringers, a 12 gauge Bushmaster shotgun. Yes, I love guns.
Named it all. Yes, the kitchen sink. But what advice do you have to women? As far as like carrying. Of course, here laws are kind of changing. Here now, we actually have open carry in Florida, so I've been able to, test it out and walk around. What used to be called brandishing a firearm by simply having it on your person. It's so nice because I'm like a t-shirt and swimsuit kind of guy with my sandals, and I'm very Florida. So I never liked concealed carry because I mean I like to have the option, but like I was always paranoid. Oh, you can see the outline of my gun; they're gonna bust me. And one time, a cop actually, I was biking, and they pulled me over on the bike. They're like, "We can see it, the outline in your jacket." It's like, am I
Motorcycle?
supposed to like put a sheet? It's ridiculous. So, but yeah, any advice for like firearms for women and stuff? Because I'm a huge advocate. I think most
Well,
women should be
okay,
carrying
so
in this day and age.
Florida, there's multiple states like Florida, Texas, I think, maybe even Georgia. They have your stand your ground law. Some other states have like the castle doctrine law, this, that, and the other thing. I used to have a concealed carry permit in the state of Massachusetts when I was married. So, I was always strapped everywhere I went. As far as weapons, with everything going around nowadays, people getting kidnapped. Look at like Houston, Texas, in the Buffalo Bayou. There's like 211 men and women have been found dead, murdered. They think it's a serial killer. dumped in the bayou. You got all kinds of different places with, people ended up missing, or women getting stabbed, just attacked like randomly on the street. Like it's not even like a targeted attack, or they even knew the person. But if you are able to get a gun, like a lot of states, Pennsylvania, Texas, you don't even need a permit per se. Like some states, you can just get a gun with a driver's license, and they just do like a quick, FBI background check. And some places you have to wait a few days, other places you don't. It just depends on the state. Um, I always carry some kind of weapon with me, and I took Krav Maga, which is a great form of martial arts. It's basically Israeli Jiu-Jitsu. It's what
Yeah.
the Israeli army uses to, train. They also do like weapons training, stuff like that. So I took Krav Maga, and I also took Taekwondo. But I'm also like versed in street fighting, because that was kind of like what I did back in the day, hanging out with like gang members and bad people. Because basically the reason why I ran away and hung out with these kind of people was for protection from my own family. You know what I mean? I had to like seek out these kind of people, and that's why I get along so well with felons and mentally ill, homeless people. You know what I mean? Because those are the type of people that actually helped me when I was a teenager, and I had nobody to help me. You know what I mean? Like they offered me shelter, they offered me food, they offered me, kindness. And these teenagers, like, there were other runaways and stuff, and it felt like almost like a family. You know what I mean? That I didn't have. Most unfortunately, most of these kids I hung out with are dead now. They died of OD, suicide. One guy got arrested for murdering his girlfriend. So, as far as weapons, I always carried something with me, mostly knives, because knives are easy to carry. If you can't get a gun for some reason, some people just can't get a gun, or they don't like guns.
Yeah.
Um, I used to
Yeah, at
do,
least have something. That's what I always tell them. Like, okay, if you don't like guns, you can't get them. Like, you should have like some sort of like brass knuckle thing or something. You gotta have something.
brass knuckles, is at
Not
least
brass knuckles, but like those little kitty keyring things that you can like
right. I mean, a Kubotan,
poke a hole in somebody.
you can have like a Kubotan keychain or mace.
Yeah.
Some states allow you to have stun guns. You can just order it on Amazon. One time I
Oh,
put
also on Amazon, I got one of these little. They're like these linear electric lighter. You know what I'm talking about, for like candles. You like it has like a little
You're
electric
frozen
thing.
now.
But honestly, like you could tase someone with that thing, and like you could probably get through most. But it's just a lighter, yeah. But like no, you be creative, have improvised weapons, because especially if you're a woman, especially if you're small, because they're gonna use their strength against you, and you gotta have something to defend yourself.
Right, because one time I had a fake Glock. It was actually a Glock BB gun, and it actually saved my life twice. I didn't
There
even
you
have to
go.
shoot it. All I had to do was show it in two situations, and they ran because they thought it was a real gun. You can buy it
Mhm.
on Amazon for like $25. I don't recommend like, waving it around, because it's not a real
No.
gun. Then you could be charged with with having a real
Yeah.
gun because somebody thought it was. But in a situation where it's like life or death, or you know what I mean, like there were a bunch of people hanging out partying on my porch in the middle of the night, and I opened up my door and brandished the gun to get the f off my porch. They ran. Another time, I know this sounds messed up, but it's a totally true story. This police officer, uh, he said he was going to help me in my situation with my ex-husband, and he tried to rape me, this police officer. And he came into my home without my permission in the middle of the night when I was going into my house. And he's like, "Oh, I'll walk you to your door." And I didn't want him to, and he just walked in my house, and he unzipped his pants. And this is a funny story, because my ex-husband always taught me to have weapons everywhere in the house. I had the fake Glock BB gun stuffed in my couch, in the
There you
cushion.
go.
And I sat down because the cop said, "Yeah, we can watch a movie." And I sat down, and I knew that it was there, and he had a real gun on him. He unzipped his pants, he was standing up, and I pulled that gun out, and he put his arms up, and he was like he put his arms up like he was under arrest. And then I said, "Get the F out of my house." And then he
Good.
left. And then I filed a complaint against him, and of course I received a letter from the chief of police saying he didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, yeah. Because he was there. Yeah.
Yeah, must have been me. Yeah, I really wanted to, do something for him. Right.
Ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, also, I always like the old that movie Airheads with Brendan Fraser and Adam Sandler, where
Yeah,
they had the Uzis filled with hot sauce, you
oh,
know, and I mean that'll do some damage. You spray some hot sauce in someone's eyes, I mean they're done.
I
You
mean,
spray it down there, and they're in a lot of pain.
I got my little hairspray. I just bought this. It's Aquanet. It's like a mini Aquanet, in case you don't know.
Yeah, Tresemme, yeah.
I mean, I gave it to my daughter when she was walking home from school. You can't bring mace or, when she was in school.
But with that and a lighter, you're good to go,
Right?
The blowtorch. We used to do that all the time when I was a kid.
You got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
somebody broke into my house one time, and my kids were home, and the guy kicked in the door and tackled me to the ground. And I got up on my feet. I saw my son's Louisville Slugger baseball bat from his little league. I picked it up. I warned the guy. I said, "Get back." He ran at me, and I hit him over the top overhand. Boom. Knocked him out. Boom. Done. He wasn't dead. He was knocked out. I shoved his body out the door. Adios. And then he was gone. He woke up a couple minutes later and took off, never to be heard from again. Did I call the cops? Hell no. They're going to arrest me. They're going to arrest me for defending myself because I was already on the list. The list of Emmy, the cops know me. Everybody, the NSA knows me on a first name basis. They're like, stop calling us Emmy at Security Operations Command Center, or SOC.
Yeah. Another pro tip when it comes to covert self-defense. I have horrible ankles. I used to do aggressive inline. I've dislocated my ankles. I mean, I've beat them up. So from time to time, I need a cane, especially if I get a little swollen or something. You might see, if you see me out and about in Orlando, you might catch me with a cane. And I'm not doing it to look cool or look like a pimp. It's because sometimes my legs aren't working so good, especially when I go to a show. You got to stand up. There's 3 bands. You're standing up for 4.5 hours. I can't do it. My legs will lock up. I can do maybe half an hour of just standing, but the cane really helps as a third leg. But I tell you what, though, I mean, I've always thought I have it's a little owl. No, it's an eagle actually on top of it. Not an owl. That'd be cool though. I was always thinking it's really heavy on the top and it unscrews and stuff. And I'm like, you can beat someone to death with this thing, poke them, or I've even been thinking about you can modify it to shoot a 20 gauge shotgun shell, just a one-off or something. But yeah, canes, man. Yeah, because they can't not let you in with a cane. I'm in SeaWorld with a cane. Any security, I'm in the courtroom. I got a cane. You can't tell me I can't have a cane to walk. So that's it's a good little loophole. You can bring a big stick with you everywhere you go. Just bring a cane.
Well, I used to do gun shows every 3 months because me and my ex-husband owned a custom knife business and a military tactical police supply business called S4 Supply, but it disbanded in 2008. But they used to sell a lot of self-defense stuff for women. We used to sell stuff too, but they even had purses, because I've had people come in and ask for these purses where there's literally a hole, it's almost like you could put your hand in and be holding a gun while you're carrying your purse, and you could literally shoot it through the purse. You know what I mean?
There you go.
There's people. I mean, it's kind of expensive, but there's a lot of secret things that you can buy. We sold things like credit card knives. It looks like a credit card.
Yeah.
A was actually a taser that looked like a cell phone. Just spy kind of things. You know what I mean? So Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
lot.
I'm working on the new DarkDox.com, and I've always loved that stuff. Spy glasses and like spy pens and things like that. So I'm going to be finding good deals on those kinds of things, so that way
Right.
we can sell them with like a little bit of a markup, like says DarkDox on it or something,
Yeah,
as a
back in the old
fundraiser.
DarkDox t-shirts, I still have those t-shirts you gave me back in the day.
Awesome. Yeah, we're gonna have a bunch of new ones and stuff. So definitely keep an eye out on Dark Docs. But yeah, I think this is a good point. Any last thoughts before we end the broadcast?
Well, I know that I tagged a whole bunch of people. So they said that, they were going to watch it. A couple people said they were going to share it with their friends. So, I just want to say hi to everybody that I tagged and other people that might be watching through Facebook, Instagram. What else did you say they were on? What other social media did you say that you were?
Yeah, this is simulcasting for the first time on Facebook at facebook.com/Christian X Coffins, and then YouTube Sacred Owls, and then our new X, because somebody at X kicked Sacred Owls Unite off last week, and I'm not exactly sure why. I wonder if it had something to do with us. Calling for Tim Heidecker to, be flagged for impersonation without, the right to do so, because he's trying to kind of wear Alex Jones'
Was that
skin.
that
So,
James Engel thing?
James, yeah, let's bring James on. He's in the chat. That's awesome. Good
Oh,
timing. Yeah, we'll bring him on the stage. Hey, James, Jacob, how you
James,
doing, man?
Jacob, James,
James,
doing well.
Jacob. I don't know where she said James, and now I'm all over the place. Yeah, it's
Oh
Jacob
no,
Ingles, everybody. Now
nice to meet you guys.
he's doing something very interesting at Bovino2028.com. He's hit the ground running. Tell us a little bit about this Bovino2028.com.
Sure. So this is an effort that I launched with the help of George Riley, the former executive director of the Republican Party of Florida, and Ivana Alvarez out of Chicago, nicknamed the Bovino Queen on X.
oh,
And
damn.
it's an effort to draft Gregory Bovino for president in 2028. I think the courage he showed across this country in trying to restore our sovereignty, in trying to restore order, in trying to make our communities safe once again in America, to attack the scourge of fentanyl, and to get our nation in proper order so that we feel safe once again, was courageous. It was bold. It was brave. And it was something that we desperately need in America. And unfortunately, corrupt individuals and actors like the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, and the Deputy Chief of Staff, James Blair, told the president and convinced him that Mr. Bovino was more popular than the president and was causing him to lose popularity and was costing him the midterm elections, all of which are just kind of interesting to focus on, considering what is costing the president support was not Gregory Bovino. Gregory Bovino was earning the president support, was increasing his public perception among the American electorate and citizens. What has cost this president is not Gregory Bovino. It's dragging us into endless foreign wars once again. It is not handling the immigration situation properly in terms of Mr. Bovino, the commander, that's what we call him, the commander, was not given proper staff, was not given enough men who had that training, that background, and he did the best with what he had, and he did a pretty damn good job. And I think that shows the mettle of a man. So that's kind of what I'm doing with Bovino2028.com.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Fascinating. Yeah, I've never heard of the guy before, but I've looked into him since you brought all of it up, and he seems like a badass. I mean, hell yeah, I'm all about it. Has he reached out to you since you've put forward this initiative?
I actually, I don't want to speak out of school on that. All I can say is that the reception has been very warm, and he currently is, I think, finishing up the RESUM 2026. It's a Remigration Institute event hosted by Martin Sellner out of Austria. It was held in Portugal, and it was a gathering of worldwide leaders who are experiencing this problem of mass illegal migration in countries all over the world. It's not just the United States. And so Commander Bovino was there, and he gave, what I am told, and from what I have seen, a rousing speech. He was personable. He took pictures with everybody. I mean, I think he's a candidate and he doesn't know it yet. So I just wanted to show him support in terms of knowing that there are people on the ground. There are people across America. I've spoken to tens of thousands over the past couple of months who are yearning for somebody with a true citizen heart, somebody who's not from this corrupt political mess that Susie Wiles and James Blair are creatures bore out of. I've known them nearly my entire political life, and that's 20 years. And they started corrupt, and it has only gotten worse. So I think a lot of credit goes to Martin Sellner out of Austria with the Remigration Institute and making this a global worldwide discussion. Because if you've seen on X or any social media and the news, I mean, it's Gregory Bovino versus Susie Wiles and James Blair. And I think if I had to pick a candidate in that fight, it wouldn't be Susie Wiles and it wouldn't be James Blair. So I think the commander is doing a great job.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm originally from Tokyo, Japan, so
Oh, wow.
I've heard a lot. I was born a U.S. citizen overseas, but I've just heard a lot about Japan in general. They have a female, I think a prime minister, and they have a lot of female in the government. It's very different than what it was like back in the past. And as far as their immigration policies in Japan, I mean
Mhm.
they're really like in control of their country right now. You know
Yeah, and
what I mean?
I think that's interesting you bring that up. First off, I got to give a shout out to one of my favorite songs by the band Discovery, Osaka Loop Line. It just
No.
encapsulates that bubbly feeling of being in Osaka and just the
Uh-huh.
beauty and history. But I think you hit the nail on the head. They've said enough is enough, and they've already were very tough historically
Hmm.
on the issue of immigration. And it's, I think, a good juxtaposition with what the commander was doing when he was in charge, commander at large of U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, and to some extent what the president tried to do, but unfortunately has fallen back into this mindset of amnesty and not mass deportations. But I think Japan shows that this is not a male issue. This is not a big, scary, masculine, get the immigrants out issue. It's an
Right.
issue of sovereignty and safety, and that matters to male and female alike.
Exactly.
I would almost argue it's more crucial for women and children. They're the ones getting trafficked. They're the ones getting raped. They're the ones getting murdered. Probably more often than your, straight white male in his, in his like 40s.
Right.
So
'Cause
yeah,
Absolutely.
I have a
Are you
friend.
saying I'm 40 years old, Christian? Was that a
I
dig?
am.
I'm 34 years young, man.
Oh, wow.
I'm the old man here.
I'm
Oh no.
older
All
than
right,
you,
Grandpa.
I'm gonna be 57 or is it 58? In Japanese years, I'm gonna be 58.
Well, we'll go with
I thought
47.
they knew how to count.
Yeah.
I'm horrible in math. It's a myth. Japanese people are not good at least I'm
Don't
not.
cheat off of this chick.
No, gosh, goodness gracious. Well, you better be nice to her. I don't know if you're familiar with the history of um, Japan during the Sengoku period, Christian, but you don't want her to take the approach of Oda Nobunaga because it's not a very nice approach. That's Japan actually. Sorry, I'm a little bit of a nerd on this. This is funny.
Yeah, I don't even know that one.
So Japan went through this near 200-year civil war where you had the warring daimyos, they call them, basically warlords is the easiest translation. And the country was, broken up into different sectors, okay? Think about it as some countries have not states, but regions. Um, and so you had the death of the Nobunaga clan, and the kind of redheaded stepchild, the black sheep of the family, took over and sparked this war that lasted for a great time period. I believe it almost 200 years. But at the end of it, Japan is one of the few countries, if not the only country in the world, that went through a civil war period like that and has maintained such peace and prosperity up until this day. So we could learn a lot from the Japanese.
Wow. I mean,
Wealth of knowledge.
my when I was growing up on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, because my father was a United States Marine Corps. He joined the Marines right when the Korean War ended, so he was over in Yokohama in 1953. But my dad was a movie actor in Japan. He worked for Toho, so he was in like Godzilla versus Megalon, Mothra,
Oh
all
my
those kind
gosh.
of movies. His name was Robert Dunham. But I sort of looked into my Japanese side of the family because I didn't really know too much because my grandparents were orphans. And my mom told me, because my mom was born in March 5th, 1944, and Hiroshima was August 5th of 1945. So she was about 18 months old when Hiroshima happened, and about a year old when I think that we bombed Tokyo, with the fire bombs and everything. And I remember my great aunt, who is my grandfather's sister, telling me how they adopted a baby that was sort of like left behind in Hiroshima.
Mm.
And my great uncle died in World War II. He was a fighter pilot. So my great aunt was a Buddhist. So she used to have like all of his pictures, everything with a little shrine. She used to bring him food every single day, and stuff like that. And she single-handedly raised a baby from Hiroshima on her own.
Wow.
And this baby, who is my cousin, she's a little older than me. Of course, she's like my mother's age. She became an English teacher in Japan. She became an English
Wow.
teacher. So yeah, I mean, it's just interesting how my grandfather was playing tennis allegedly while the planes were flying overhead when we were about to bomb, Japan, and my mom was just a baby. But I can kind of understand why my mom was the way she was, growing up, like always concerned about food, not having enough food, probably because of
Oh
food
yeah.
scarcity during the World War, because she was the third child, and most Japanese people don't have three kids, especially in the 40s, and stuff.
No. And
So
and
yeah, it's just very interesting to just sort of research your own family history, which is what I've been doing for the last 5 years.
wow.
Yeah, so
So what do you it's kind of fun to talk about because first off, I think what you said is very powerful because we get so binary when we think about wartime situations, and that goes back even further back than World War II. But we're all human beings, people, and the like intricacies that go into choosing sides in a global event like that aren't always as cut and dry as the history books make them out to be. And at the end of the day, you have to remember when you're a nation and you are in the armed forces, you have a duty to protect your countrymen. And it's not always uh, the right reasons that your leader gets you into the war, but I think there's something lost about the fact that there were many people on all sides in conflicts dating back to the dawn of time that
right.
it was service before self. It was they might not agree internally with the leader's choice to align with certain countries or get into a war on whatever side you're in, but that doesn't mean we're just going to abandon our country and let an opposing force come in and take control. That is inherently antithetical to us as humans. Okay. And I think what's going on right now with Iran and Israel, first off, I didn't sign up for another foreign adventure. Second off, I didn't sign up to fund another country's foreign adventure with the blood and money of our country. And third off, um, it takes two to tango, right? So when somebody always comes to you and says, "Oh, well, so and so is being mean to me again. They're being mean to me again, and then so and so is mean to me, and so and so is mean to me," but they're never complicit in anything of why somebody is responding to them in a certain way. I think that's what you see with Israel right now. Is how many times are we going to go down this road? They have some complicity here, and they get into these wars and beg for our help, beg for our money, beg for the blood of our young men and women. But at the same time, we're told how great the Iron Dome is and how Israel is the greatest country in the world and it's so technologically advanced, and how awesome the Mossad is and how awesome the Israeli Defense Forces are and how much money they have and how their GDP is. Well, to me, I just heard about 5 or 6 reasons why you handle your own shit and don't get us
Right.
involved. Sorry.
And what's really alarming about this right now is they just came out with this new National Defense Authorization Act that is essentially stitching the Israeli Defense Force, the Israeli Army, and the United States Armed Forces into one big conglomerate, which I don't understand how that isn't treason just on its face. We shouldn't have these foreign entanglements, but now we're putting into National Defense Authorization Act that we are like joined at the hip with this foreign nation. I don't even understand how that passed.
I mean, it's kind of fun when you're in Congress and you're not afraid of the citizenry, right? You're not afraid of the ballot box because AIPAC can buy you an election. Hey, kitty cat. You're not afraid of the citizens holding you to account because after COVID, especially, it's almost like there's no town halls. There's no public meetings. They just took that and ran with it. Hey, you're going to create problems for me, Missy.
Oh, we got a guest star on the show.
We do have a guest star.
But we need a serious movement.
Hey.
How about make the government afraid again? We need to make the government afraid again. The government needs to be terrified of the people.
They need to. And I mean, explain to me a little bit, Emmy, what do you think makes the government more in tune with the people over in Japan, having lived there and spent time there? What's the disconnect here in America?
Well, I mean, as you were saying before, Japan is a very peaceful country, but at the same time, respect. Respect is a big thing in Japan. They're always bowing to everybody. You know what I mean? We're always introducing people to each other and bowing our heads, and there's a lot of respect there. And it just seems like America now, it's just all that stuff went out the window. I mean, you could be driving down the highway and all of a sudden somebody's tailgating you, and then you get into a road rage incident, and you're like, what is going on? Like, I was just trying to get to work today, and now I'm in a bad mood because somebody flipped me off and cut me off or whatever. And it's just like everywhere you go, there's these people that are entitled, and they just think like you have to treat them a certain way. They demand, you treat them a certain way. And, it's like I've been called a racist so many times at work. I've had people pull the race card, like, oh, you're a racist because you didn't help me in the way I wanted you to help me in customer service or whatever.
Right, well, right there. Not to cut you off, but you just because people are stupid. We're talking a large amount of people are stupid, so we got to give them cliff notes. You didn't help me in the way that I wanted you to help me. Well, right there, that encapsulates the problem in America and everything you just said. When you ask somebody, can you help me put this shelf up? And then proceed to complain and direct and tell them how to do it and how they wanted it done. Well, then just do it yourself, number one. But number two, help me in the way that I wanted you to help me. That's usually, especially in customer service, in my experience, code word for you're not giving me exactly what I want right now, no matter how insane the request is or what, you hit the nail on the head. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I mean, it's just something that, I've had to deal with. And I've moved around. I've lived in 8 different states in my lifetime since 1975. So, I've lived amongst all kinds of different people, different cultures, different races, different religions. And now, I live in one of the big, I can't really say where I live, but like I live in one of the biggest cities in the United States, and I literally feel like I'm living in a foreign country. There's like 9 Spanish radio stations here. I had to flip it like so many times to get an English station. And, everywhere you go, everybody thinks I'm Spanish. They're like, Espanol? And I'm like, no, I don't speak Spanish. And they're like, why? I'm like, because I'm Japanese American. They look at me like confused. like I should be speaking Spanish, but then we got, you know, a lot of people that are Muslims that have come here from, you know,
Yep.
Pakistan, India, you know, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Dubai, and you know, I don't have a problem with, you know, people of different cultures, different races, whatever, but what I do have a problem with is when they try to act like they're still in their own country and then they want,
Yeah.
like I've literally had people come say, "Oh, well, I'll give you this for this." And I'm like, "No, this purse costs $700. There's no bartering here. This is not like a fruit market in your
Yeah.
country where you can say, "Hey, I'll pay you or I'll trade you this for this." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'm like, at first I just didn't understand, like, because I never had to deal with this, but I lived in the city for the last 2.5 years, and
Yeah.
I'm just
And put
baffled.
some shoes on.
Yeah. Yeah. Put some
They're
shoes
always
on.
coming in with no shoes on.
Yeah. Don't do that thing with your hand that some people do. You know, in the bathroom. You know, um, but it's a look, I've traveled. It's not been recently because on one hand, I don't recognize the country I grew up in as well, but on the other hand, I'm deathly afraid of leaving the country because of how a lot of the travel blocks and watch lists that conservatives and free thinkers were put on under the Obama and Biden administrations are still in effect. People don't think they are. And oh my goodness, that would be horrible. But if you couldn't get back in, and sometimes right now, I don't think maybe I don't want to come back with the way
Right?
things are going. But, you know, when I went over to visit the Vatican through my middle school with the Legionaries of Christ and Regnum Christi Opus Dei, um, you know, you spent months preparing. You brushed up on your Latin, you brushed up on your Italian, the teachers were telling you here are certain customs, here, you know, what you do here in America is not appropriate over there. And a lot of it was like, wow, this doesn't make sense to me. But it was always driven by the fact of you are going to a foreign place that is not your home. It is a host country, and you show the respect to the host country and their customs, no matter how silly you think they are. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go and worship a, you know, cow if you go to visit India and
Right.
violate your own religious principles, but that means basic things. Like in a lot of European countries, it's considered rude to tip. I didn't know that. We were told that. And then when I got the opportunity to visit um, Stuttgart in Germany, my ancestral homeland, with a little poor Irish in me too. Um, it was the same process. You know, you had to learn. Okay, all right. I guess Wiener Schnitzel is popular over here, and a lot of sauerkraut, and you know, you're eating a lot of sausage. Which, hey, I'm a big fan of kielbasa and spatzel and schnitzel and all the fun stuff they have over there. But again, you learn the customs. So that's just for visiting. Now,
Right.
imagine you up and move today to Japan. And I go over there and I say, samurais are gay, peace is queer, your little huts, I don't like them. I don't like rice. I don't like the food, the culture. You're stupid. Where's my McDonald? And
And
where's
I'm only going to
my
speak English.
only,
I'm
yeah,
not even going to
you'll speak
try to
English to
learn your
me.
language.
I'll be rude, and the radio stations. I'm gonna move all my friends over here, so all you're gonna hear is WAP or some other foul rap song
Yeah, yeah,
instead
go around
of
with a Bluetooth speaker just playing like the
yeah,
most like, asinine American stuff.
asinine
And,
stuff.
and I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna rub on your women's, go, hey mommy, hey, like just
Yeah,
like be
yeah.
a
Oh well,
creep,
and
you
do
know?
stupid stuff
Right.
Because that's what you
like
guys do. That's what you look like.
that's
Just so you
exactly
know.
what Emmy just described. Is it there's just this total lack of decorum and respect, and to me, I don't really care spiritually where people are at as long as they're not harming me or my family or my fellow Americans and
Hmm.
neighbors. But there's something to be said about believing in a higher power. For me, it's Catholicism, and the order that it creates, the respect, and that's the same with military service, required military service, quite frankly, where you have basic core principles, ideals, and customs that can transfer to religion, race, cultural, job, that are just basic things. But now in America, our religion is to worship the cult of OnlyFans, to be foul and nasty, to not be journalists or broadcasters or commentators like we're doing right here, but to just say the most unhinged thing or pull a nipple out or do something that is just degrading to us, and that gets more views and is given more credence than if you discover cancer, quite frankly, today. You know,
Right.
we talk more about that in terms of, we talk more about Sophie Rain or this Bonnie Blue who's having sexual congress with 1,000 men in a day,
Mhm.
than venerate and elevate people who are trying to solve real world problems. They're doing really cool things like biofuels and you know, what are we doing here? But
Right.
let's get back to politics. Do we have some
Right.
other political stuff to talk about, Christian?
I mean, really, as far as politics, I'm a little checked out. I'm a little fatigued, to be honest. I've been
Yeah.
focusing more on what's just going on worldwide in terms of the uprisings and
Yeah.
people getting together, and they're sick of these illegal immigrants that are coming in and just taking over their beaches in the UK, taken over. I mean, they're burning, down buildings, and it's total mayhem in a bunch of countries right now. And the U.S. media is not talking about it. The only place I can really find good footage is on X or Alex Jones Live. The War Room Harrison is doing a great
Yeah.
job covering all of these goings on worldwide. I mean, you have this guy that just got stabbed to death by a Muslim over in the UK. And literally, they just released the body cam footage. He's on camera saying, "I've been stabbed. I'm dying on camera here." And they're like, "I don't think you've been stabbed, mate." And then they're like, and then the guy, he literally dies on camera. And then they're like,
Oh,
"Oh,
wait,
we
wait,
can't get
Christian.
in."
Wait, they don't have guns because they confiscated all of them. They
Right.
actually have knife and sharp object confiscation centers.
Yeah.
Idris Elba, as much as I love him as a freaking actor, he's bomb.com, was talking about, well, bruv, I think we got to collect more sharp objects, bruv, no more
Right.
knives, bruv. So this just proves the point. It's not the gun, it's not the knife, it's the deranged individual wielding it. So how did that
And
work out,
also, the
UK?
knife he was stabbed with was a Muslim ceremonial, like one of those, like, curvy Aladdin Arabian Nights looking pieces of shit.
Pray
And
tell, Christian, I thought you were going to say it was a butter knife.
Arabian Nights. I mean, it's disgusting, and these people, they are at war with everyone. I mean, they are at war. Yeah, sure, there's some good Muslims. Yeah, sure, there's some good Jews. But like, let's be real. Like, we have a real Muslim and Jewish problem here in the U.S., and they are trying to kill not just the white people. They're trying to kill everybody, and they're warring
Yeah.
with each other. This has been going on for thousands of years. We need to finally address this as like a people of
Well,
the world and be like, all right, you guys, you need to go to this corner of the world and you're banned. And I think we did that before with some of these guys. It's in the
oh,
Bible.
Madagascar was considered by a certain world leader at a certain point in history in World War II for what he viewed as undesirables. But if you look at other cultures or time periods, I mean, that's what Australia was born as, a penal
Yeah,
colony.
a
Right.
I
penal
mean,
colony, exactly. I think
I
it's time
mean,
for another one of these. Maybe let's just
yeah.
make California a penal colony and we'll throw
Well,
everyone in
if
there.
we can
Right there.
cut them off and let them float out into the ocean a little bit, like
Yeah,
20
like every
miles.
like 20 feet, put some dynamite in the ground and just let California just float off into
Well,
the
I mean, I
Pacific.
don't think we even need to get that serious about it. I mean, there's some great source material. Speaking
Escape
of
from
speaking of
Manhattan.
Japanese, speaking of Japanese, there's a great original. The original, the remake isn't too bad, but the original called Battle Royale.
Oh,
That's
okay.
a good
Oh,
film.
yeah.
And it's the concept that Hunger Games
Mhm.
was kind of born out of. It's the concept that Squid Games kind of plays with. Um, and, you know, they're using citizenry and students in those, which I don't agree with. But you know what? Let's televise it. Let's find an island and put all the bad people on it if you behave badly. And when I say badly, we're talking about rape, murder,
Yeah, the real bad
child
guys.
Real
molestation,
stuff.
that kind of stuff. And you know what? It's the influencer age. Let's televise it. Let's do pay-per-view. People love carnage. They love the disgustingness. They want to be depraved and live in that world. Then let's make some money off of it. And you know what? Whoever survives, they get to own the island.
Right.
So, and
And
they can.
I've been kind of workshopping something kind of similar. I want, if Coffins becomes president, Coffins for America, I want these death cruises. I want to take the Carnival cruise lines, like where everyone's fighting for the chicken nuggets and stuff. I want to take these Carnival cruise lines and I want to have death cruises. Everyone that is, first of all, we're abolishing the prison
Yeah.
system. If you're a nonviolent offender and you get found by a jury of peers, time served, whatever, you get to get reintegrated into society. If it was bad enough, maybe a little penalty or maybe some house arrest. But we're getting rid of the prisons. We're going to use
What
them for
about
like
public
emergency
shaming,
housing.
Christian?
But everyone else that we're talking the rapists, the murderers, and stuff.
Yeah.
They get to go on these death cruises and they get to drink, smoke weed, have a good time all weekend. And at the end of it, they have to walk the plank. And if they
Yeah.
survive the ocean long enough, then yeah, you get a part in it or whatever. You get to start
Well, I
over.
mean, what about, can we add a little? We're going to add a little Japanese flair into it since we have our wonderful guest with us, Emmy. I would be in favor. They can either go on the death cruise, Christian, or they can engage in the act of seppuku. And it's called a little thing where you disembowel yourself, and then they nominate a friend or an ally or a confidant, and then the head sliced off. It's the most honorable
Now,
thing
I
that they
thought that
could
was
do.
called Harry Carey. Is that different?
That is different. So that's why
Okay.
when you see the longer samurai sword, right,
Hmm.
and then you see the shorter one, it does have combat
Um,
purposes, but in the act of, you would, I guess best way to describe it would be a gi, like in karate is the best
Mhm.
way. So you would disrobe up until about your waistline, and you're down, and then and this could be done for out of sheer embarrassment or dishonor you brought if you lost a military campaign, if something like that happened. um, and you start the process, boom, you disembowel yourself, and
yeah.
then when you've completed that process, your friend cuts your head off. And it was considered a great honor. For some people, I'll give you an example. In the early period of the Civil War that I was talking about in Japan, that started with Oda Nobunaga. It didn't start with him, but he's kind of colloquially, generally considered historically where people kind of start that process. Um, he was named his father's successor, and there were cousins, uncles, brothers, and one of the retainers of a good military commander, I believe, of the uncle, was so distraught by how he behaved at his father's funeral because he took a bowl of incense ash and all over his father as a sign of disrespect, that I'm in charge now. The old era is over. It's mine. And one of the people that thought him not fit, because he's a drunkard, he's a hooligan, thought him not fit to carry on the family's name and represent their region. Uh, he committed ritual suicide, seppuku, out of an act of protest. So it can be something honorable too. Sometimes, see, could
Hmm.
you imagine anybody in America in this day and age, out of sheer just embarrassment or dishonor that
Right.
they thought had been brought on the country by somebody they knew, even it's almost an act of self-immolation that we have seen from some monks. um,
Hmm.
and you know what, it's your body, it is your right. I, as a Catholic, I think that's probably not good, in my religion, but it I don't know. I think there's some great honor and respect for that.
I think you're touching on something that's pretty interesting here because I'm trying to think of like, well, why aren't people from the West like that? And I mean, when you think about it, well, just as far as like systemically, we've been told that we should be ashamed of ourselves and that we're horrible and that we're the reason for all of it's funny. In my family, I was born at kind of an inconvenient time. And so a lot of the time I was called the cause, like, oh, he's the cause. He's the reason why we did this, and that kind of affected me. I was like, that's so I'm the reason why. But so growing up like that, I kind of became shameless in a way because I was like, well, I mean, you're blaming me for everything anyway, so why am I going to be ashamed of anything? And I think there might be something to that in terms of like the United States and our citizens, where it's like you're already going to call me a racist, you're already going to call me a bigot or a sexist or this or a fascist or capitalist. It goes on and on and on. So it's almost become a part of American culture to just be like, yeah, and what, huh? Well, what's your problem?
See, that's the thing.
Have an attitude about it.
If it is so overused and it is not special and it is not reserved for serious conversation, for example, if everybody's a Nazi who's to the right of Karl Marx or Friedrich Engels or Vladimir Lenin, and that is a term thrown around for anybody who does not want total chaos and anarchy in the streets and to be run by 400-pound transgender Antifas, then you're a Nazi. Okay, it cheapens it. It cheapens the sting. Just like you're saying, our shame and our capacity for feeling shameful about doing shameful things is so cheapened. I mean, when you have people wielding their nether region on camera for money, and they're starting as young as 16, and they're doing influencer training classes in high schools, that we all know what that's preparing young women for, especially young girls. It's not so they can go be a newscaster. Okay. Are you able to play videos, Christian?
No, not right now. I'm working on it.
Yeah, working on it. So I'm just curious because I'm learning some of this stuff too. And I know last time I had a little technical snafu with some microphone thing that I got. And I was like, can you hear me? Can you hear me? and then I'm thinking like, oh crap, we're actually broadcasting right now. But
yeah, so right now I'm on my cell phone, and if you watch our first interview on video, you'll see that like it was pretty grainy and stuff like that because I was actually using the Wi-Fi hotspot on my phone to my laptop. So I'm not doing that anymore. It looks horrible. I'm just going to do the phone, but I am connecting my internet hopefully next week, and then we can actually have like a serious, not on a cell phone, but I can actually have my little moving puppets and videos and all the green screen and all that fun stuff, and you guys. So I'm working on it.
Can I show you guys something? I'm going to just step aside for a second. So you talk, Emmy. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Because this sort of ties in with what we were talking about, what Jacob, I call him James for some reason. It's Jacob, right?
You got me saying James. I got in trouble.
What he was talking about and the whole Japanese thing, and I've been talking about this for quite some time now, is Asian fetishism. And that's something that really, irritates me, especially, when a guy assumes that, oh, you're from Japan. Oh, that means that you're going to cook and clean and you're going to do this for me and you're going to, massage me and fetch me a beer.
This isn't Memoirs of a Geisha, guys. Like, get out of here.
Right. Like, I'm like, okay.
What do you mean you don't know how to make good sushi?
I mean, literally, they're like, oh, like, okay, I was a massage therapist. I gave up being a massage therapist because, the whole happy ending joke all the time.
Oh, God.
Like, I bought a t-shirt that says, I will not love you long time.
Yes.
I mean, I have to do this stupid stuff because everybody's like, oh, you're Japanese? Oh, well, and then I get the sex jokes. All the time.
We need to have that. We need a yellow shirt with like the red, like Oriental fonts. I will not love you long time. Emmy available at
WARSTORE.INFO. We'll put Emmy's face on the body of Godzilla from the old Toho films. And
No, I mean,
uh,
these guys have no shame. Like they will say to me, like $50 make you holler or something, or I mean, I don't know what
the
I'm
first
allowed to
time
say
it's
or not
funny.
allowed to say, but you know.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Do you
Now
feel that way, Emmy?
I got guys that'll be like, "Oh, is your blank sideways just like your eyes?"
right.
Oh, God.
Or,
Oh.
"Save your
I
blank."
mean,
I mean, this is all like from Asian pornography because they watch. Oh wait, didn't I see you in a porno?
oh my God.
I
Yeah,
get asked
yeah,
that all the time. Didn't I see you in a porno? Is your name like Miko Lee or something? I'm like,
yeah.
no.
Yeah, right. That's kind of like there's a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode with Larry David,
Yep.
and it's when he meets wheelchair Wendy, and they hit it off and they go on a date, and then he loses his phone in the ocean, and he's driving around. He has a general neighborhood where she lived, and he said, oh, he saw another woman in a wheelchair, and he goes up to her and says, well, hey, I'm kind of looking for my friend. She's
One of
and
you.
she's in a chair like you. And the lady's like, yeah, because all of us wheelchair people just know each other. Like, what is going on, people? I mean, and look, what Emmy said speaks not only to just what pornography does
Right.
in a cultural way like that, but when are we going to have respect for women again? Like, some women don't deserve respect because they're disrespectful, mean people, not because they're women. Just like some men don't deserve respect because they're dirty, disrespectful, nasty, mean people. It's not because they're a man. But
Right.
it's like you
Yeah,
get caught.
respect is earned. I don't care what anyone says. Oh, you respect everyone. No, you got to be mutual and you got to be kind and polite. That's different than respect. That's what you give to
Yeah.
everybody. And then the more you get to know someone, otherwise respect isn't worth anything. You can if you give it to everybody, then who really deserves respect?
Yeah. So look. So because I have to go. Because I have to do a conference call for Bovino2028.com.
Oh,
But I I was on Amazon, and this is one of the few purchases that I made that is actually cool and showed up as is. It is like made in the style of the old boom boxes.
Okay, it's a
It's
new
even
one.
got, it's a new one, but the cool thing about it is you've got radio, obviously. You've got MP3, obviously. But look at this. Sorry, I was born in 1992, so this is kind
You
of
didn't
foreign
get
to me.
you didn't get the first wave of these.
Didn't get the
Does
first
it
wave.
do Bluetooth or?
It does Bluetooth too.
not the newer
But
There you
one.
look,
go.
it
Oh, a cassette
so
player.
you can put the blank tape in there, close it, turn your Bluetooth on, turn it to tape, hit record, and it puts it on the tape. And then when
Nice.
you play it back, it comes through with that sound like this is an 80s boombox. So I mean, is this not like the coolest freaking thing right there? I'm just gonna go walk around the neighborhood tomorrow listening to my music, and it was $40. That's
What?
insane.
It
So
reminds me of that
Yes.
movie Say Anything when
Yeah. I was gonna
remember?
say, hold it over your head.
Don't
Do the meme. There you
you
go.
forget
Screenshot
about
that.
me. What was it? Was it John
That's
Cusack?
what it was.
Yes,
John
yes.
Yeah,
Cusack.
I
Cusack.
was about to say, God, I was about to say James Spader because so for some reason Pretty in Pink, and then I was fighting in me. But okay, I got to run, my dearies.
Okay.
But thank you
Yeah,
guys so much. I
about that
dressed
time.
I dressed up. Do you see? I got a haircut. I don't have
The
my
haircut
Unabomber
looks good.
beard.
I gotta trim my sides. Yeah, man, you're crushing it.
Well,
Looking
see, my
sharp with
problem.
your Bovino ad. I see you.
Yes. Well, the only thing that I hate is it took me until 34 when I had the beard. You saw it, Christian. I was connecting right here finally for once, And then it was all just like, I was like, oh, wow, I'm a man. I'm in the Midwest. But then I looked at myself yesterday and
I
I
look
was just like,
homeless.
yeah, I look like I crawled out of the bush.
Yeah.
And I went into the the haircut place, and she was very nice. I think she did a great job. But she said, how long has it been since you've had a haircut? And I said, long enough for me not to know when the last time I had a haircut. And then I look on the ground as I get up to go do shampoo, and it just it looked like you shaved Chewbacca or something. It was gross. But all right.
It's amazing how hairy we are. Like, I mean, I trim my arms. I don't know if this is TMI, but like my arms get really like, oh my God, like it's a lot of hair, and it's all gray, and I look like a grandpa. So like, I trim my arms, and then when I'm done trimming my arms, like I have all this hair, and I'm like, like it's just amazing.
So
Japanese
I'll leave
people
with
don't
this.
have much hair.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
why
I'll leave with this. I always leave with a little bit of a musical commentary. So we'll just go with the band Discovery. And Discovery is kind of like a super group, some members of MGMT and some members of Vampire Weekend.
No, okay.
But
Right.
they only have one album, and it is just amazing. But Osaka Loop Line, I looked that one up since we're in the wonderful world of the Japans right now. And I'll leave with a quote. It's a quote about somebody asking a rich man how he lost his fortune. He said, at first it started slow and then it happened all at once. So good night.
Very good. Any last words, Emmy?
Oh my God, that was a lot of fun. I didn't
He's a
even
treat, isn't he?
at all. Like I was like,
Yeah.
I was just gonna go on a whole other rant about when he was talking about Germany because I've been to Germany. I spent a month there in 1987 during Carnival. But yeah, it's when you go to their country, we learned their customs, their weird stuff that they do or say or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they said, oh, when you go to Germany and you're going to the bathroom, somebody might just like walk into the bathroom while you're going to the bathroom, but that's normal in Germany. And we're like, but we don't want anybody walking in the bathroom.
I think I like it here just fine.
Right?
Awesome. Well,
Yeah,
thank you so
exactly.
much for coming on. Let's do this way more often than every 7 years, maybe next month. But in the meantime, I am going to be sending you credentials for DarkDox.com. I want you to take advantage of them, log in. Let me know if you need any help with like the WordPress interface and stuff. It's very easy to post stuff, upload photos, go crazy. I encourage you. But thank you so much. It's great
Thank
being your friends, and I hope you have a great night.
you too. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And
You got it.
yeah, thank you.
Awesome. This is Christian Coffins once more saying beware, take care, and have a great night. Bye-bye.
Good night.